Hello, once again, I am still your teacher, Maremba, presenting this topic, the first topic in history, that is in Form 4. Remember, last time on the first part, we introduced this lesson, this topic, whereby we are looking at the causes and the results of the First World War, causes and the results of the First World War. Now, in the first part, we looked at the events. You remember the events that were there in Europe that towards the First World War. So we looked at those events between 1870 and 1914. So there were a number of issues that were taking place in that period. So we looked at the issues like unification of Germany. We looked at the issues like capitalism, imperialism, and all other issues. And from there, then, that's when we started looking at the causes, the real causes of the First World War. Then we said we looked at the first one, that was the political alliances. So we looked at a number of the issues. So it's just a matter of you going back to whatever we did there and go through again, then you remember whatever. So in this one, in this topic, in this part or part 2 of the same topic, causes and the results of the First World War, we are going to look at the arms race and militarism as another cause number 2 for the First World War. So let's be together as we go through this wonderful topic. So, as said, we are going to look at the arms race and the militarism. The arms race and militarism as cause number 2 of the First World War. Arms race is the competition between countries to increase the number or power of their weapons. So a competition that was there between countries to increase the number or power of weapons, to increase the weapons or the power of their weapons. That one is called the arms race. So militarism is the belief, that a country needs a strong army for it to have political influence or power. A belief that a country needs a strong military to have political influence. So that is militarism. Arms race and militarism in Europe during this period, therefore, it involved a number of issues. What were they? Number one, there was the mass production of war machines. So countries in Europe, they embarked much on the making a lot of war machines. And not only that, there was also mass conscription. By conscription, we mean the compulsory recruitment of soldiers for military services. So there was mass production of machines as well as the mass recruitment of soldiers. So that was the arms race and militarism. It involved basically these issues. And not only that, there was also the build-up of battleships. There was the building of battleships. Countries, they were competing in the building of battleships. So that was another concept of the arms race and the militarism. Not only that, also drawing up of war plans. Countries were busy drawing up the plans how to attack other countries. So those were the plans as well. It was another concept of arms race and militarism. Also, there was the increase in defense budget. So nations in Europe, they were allocating a lot of money in the budgets, just as we do here in Malawi. You know, at a certain point, the members of parliament, they go to the parliament to make a budget or to allocate, to make the allocations for the budget, just like that. So during this period, there was the increase in allocation to the defense budget. So they were allocating a lot of money to the defense for the production of war machines and the recruitment of soldiers, building of battleships, all those, they required a lot of money. Now let us look at the Anglo-German naval rivalry. So there was that competition. A rivalry is like a competition. So the British and the Germany competition in the naval. When we talk of the naval, usually we talk of the war machines that use the sea. So the building of the ships now, that is the naval. So there was that competition between Germany and the Anglo, that is the British. The arms race was among all great powers, but the major two rivals were Britain and Germany. So the Anglo, the British, and the Germany were the major competitors in the arms race. So how did they compete? So Britain had the largest number of battleships. So that is a fact. By that time, the British, they had a lot of battleships. So Germany was determined to compete with Britain. So Germany now was determined. That is, Germany really wanted really for sure to compete with Germany, with Britain, so that they should be at the same level. Kaiser William II and his Minister of Defense or Marine, the Minister of Marine, that is Admiral von Tips. This one, they influenced the passing of the naval law in 1898, which aimed to increase the Germany battleships. If you can remember, we also mentioned of the one of the reasons why the British dropped this policy of splendid isolation. We said that because of the naval laws that were passed in Germany in 1898, between 1898 and 1900, that were aimed at to compete with Britain. So for that reason, we said Britain dropped this policy of splendid isolation. So Germany passed this naval law for a number of reasons. Number one was to reduce the gap with Britain. They wanted also to have battle or many ships just as Britain had. And also to match the British fleet. They wanted to decrease to reduce the gap, but if chances were there, they also wanted to match, to be at par with the Britain fleet, to be together, or to match the number of the British ships should also be there in Germany. So they wanted to do that. And also in order to beat and we're saying here, in order to beat this Germany ambition, Britain launched the new battleship called the HMS Dreadnought in 1906. So we see to it, well, in 1898, the Germans, they passed those laws to say, right, we need to reduce the gap of with Britain having the number of battleships. We need to match with Britain. Then the British also, they increased the gap by launching a deadly battleship that was called the HMS Dreadnought in 1906. So HMS standing for Her Majesty, Her Majesty's ship. That's why HMS, Her Majesty's ship. So Germany, again, after looking at what happened in Britain by launching the HMS Dreadnought, they also copied and they launched the Panther. I hope that's where the word panzer comes from. The panther, it came from. They launched theirs also, which was similar to the HMS Dreadnought. Why did they compete? Why did these European countries compete, or why was there the arms race? Number one was to ensure security. The arms race was there to ensure security, and also to reduce balance of power, to reduce the balance of power. That is to say, not only one country should dominate, should be seen as a powerful country. So they were competing to build those arms, and also for prestige, to be seen as superior, to be seen as powerful, to gain the superior status. Now we have seen the naval competition between Britain and Germany. Now another thing that we have said that comprised the arms race was the plans, the war plans. So let us look at one of the plans that was there, and this one was the Schlieffen Plan of 1907. So this was a war plan designed by Germany, German Chief of Staff Alfred von Schlieffen, on how to defend France, on how to defeat France within 6 weeks through Belgium, a neutral country, and then turn to Russia before she was prepared. So they designed that plan. Hope we are going to explain also that Schlieffen plan in detail. So it was hoped that the plan would work because Russia had the poorest railway in Europe, so she could take longer to supply the front lines. So we can see to it that the plan, the Schlieffen plan, was there designed by Germany, by Germany. So it was like we said France was here, which was feared much by Germany for the revenge. And we already said that Russia was here. So here is Russia, here is France, and here is Germany. Here is Germany. So the plan, the Schlieffen plan, was that Germany was to defeat France within a period of 6 weeks through Belgium. So that's where you need to take note. Now Belgium is somewhere here, bordering France. So they planned to go to occupy, the Germans planned to occupy Belgium first, to take Belgium by force, to go to Belgium and attack it by force. Then from there, within a few period, then enter France through the back door, because here at the boundary there were strong borders, military reinforcement from France. So the Germans, they could not penetrate through France. So that's why they designed to say, all right, we are going to enter through Belgium, then enter France through the back door and defeat France within 6 weeks. We are done. Then from there, before Russia takes charge, then we face Russia there, simply because Russia had poor railway lines. Therefore, they could take time to mobilize. So that was the Schlieffen plan. The Schlieffen plan, it was designed by Germany, by von Schlieffen. And another thing during the arms race was still the plans. So another plan was the Plan 17. What was it? This was the war plan by France. It was the war plan by France. So according to this plan, the French arranged a strong defensive line along the border with Germany. So as already pointed out, the French, they put a strong reinforcement of soldiers to say the Germans should not penetrate or to go through, to go into France. So it was designed to take back these countries. It was designed to take over Alsace and Lorraine. You remember Alsace and Lorraine, they were taken during the 1870-1871 war. So the French, they designed that one. It was also another plan whereby we see to it that there is France here, France, then there is Germany here. They were making the borders. Now remember, Alsace was just here and Lorraine just here. They were taken by Germany. Now, so the French, they designed in such a way to say, right, we are going to put a strong military reinforcement here, whereby they are going to be pushing forward into Germany, until this strong army has covered this area of Alsace and Lorraine. So that was the Plan 17, designed by France to take over their lost territory. Now, let us look at the arms race and the outbreak of the First World War. In other words, we are saying, how did the arms race, the competition in the war plans, in the making of war machinery, and many other things that were there, the competition in military, how did it contribute into the outbreak of the First World War in 1914? So number one, we are saying that the accumulation and production of military hardware facilitated in heightening the tense situation in Europe before 1914. So the acquiring of those military hardware, the weapons, it facilitated, it helped to heighten or to make the situation in Europe to be more tense, to be more fragile, to say anything can happen, because each and every country was like ready with her own weapons. So countries, number one, we are saying because of that, countries became too suspicious of each other. And also they went on massive conscription and mobilization in order to be ready for war. So they were ready. They went on massive recruitment of soldiers and getting those soldiers to the war fronts. That is the mobilization, getting the soldiers to the war fronts. That is the mobilization. So countries, because of the arms race, now they were recruiting a lot of soldiers and getting those soldiers, putting them or stationing them in the war fronts. They also became encouraged to test their power by deliberately provoking others. So we see to it that when countries in Europe acquired the weapons, therefore they were able to provoke others so that they should test their weapons to say how strong are our weapons. So to that far, we have looked at the cause number 2 of the First World War, and that is the arms race and militarism. So we have seen some of the concepts there in the arms race and the militarism. Now, let us look at the third cause of the First World War, and this one is nationalism in the Balkans. Do you remember the definition of nationalism? I hope you remember that one. Nationalism, a drive by people to rule themselves, to gain independence. That is nationalism. So we talked about this topic already, nationalism in the Balkans. If you can remember in the events, the first events towards the First World War, we talked about this. Now, let us dig deeper into this nationalism in the Balkans as a cause of the First World War. So the Balkan region is a region to the southwest of Europe, Remember, we looked at the map. At that map, you saw the Balkan region. So that is the Balkan region. Now, there were a mixed ethnic groups such as the Slavs and the Croats. So the Slavs and the Croats, they were the people who made up the Balkan region of those countries, Macedonia, Greece, Albania, Serbia, Montenegro, and many other countries. All those small countries there, they were the Slavs and the Croats. So it had countries like Greece, Romania, Albania, Montenegro, Serbia, Bulgaria, Turkey. All these, they were in the Balkan region. So they were all under the Turkish Empire. As we said, they were under Turkey. The Balkan region was under Turkey, which was also called the Ottoman Empire, the Ottoman Empire. So most of them, they wanted independence from Turkey. So those small countries, they wanted independence from the Turkish Empire or the Turkish rule. So their declaration of independence weakened the Turkish Empire. Then three countries became interested in the Balkan region. So when those countries started to declare independence from the Turkish rule, then it weakened that Turkish Empire. And thereafter then, three countries became interested in the affairs of the Balkan region. What were these countries? Number one was Serbia. So she wished to create a strong and united Slav state to include Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Montenegro. So Serbia became interested in the affairs of the Balkans to say, right, it is high time we create the Slav state, a great Slav state. This one should remind you of pan-Slavism that we talked about, to say Serbia advocated pan-Slavism. All Slav people, they should come together and form their own nation. So she wanted Bosnia Herzegovina and Montenegro to come together with Serbia and form the Slav nation. So she was supported by Russia in her own interest in the Balkans. So Russia was behind Serbia. Another country that was also interested in the affairs of the Balkans was Austria-Hungary. So she had problems with the Slav-speaking people who demanded independence. So remember, with what was started by Serbia, then the Slavs who were in Austria-Hungary, they were making a lot of problems there to say, we also need to be independent from Austria-Hungary. So they wanted their independence. Hence, it was a problem to Austria-Hungary. She was not prepared to see what had happened to the Turkish Empire. Hence, she blocked the breakup of the Ottoman Empire. So you see to it, when Serbia was advocating for the pan-Slavism, Austria-Hungary blocked that one to say, no. She didn't want to see the breakup of the Turkish Empire because that experience, again, would also affect her. So she blocked, she was against the pan-Slavism. Then she prevented pan-Slavism by Serbia, as already pointed out. So she was supported by Germany in her interest of the Balkans. So you see to it, while Serbia was supported by Russia, Austria-Hungary was supported by Germany. So you see there how competition or the interest, nationalism in the Balkans there is playing a role to the cause of the First World War. And Russia was also interested in the affairs of the Balkan region. Why? She wanted to open trade routes to the Mediterranean Sea after failing in the East due to the 1905 Japanese defeat. In 1904-1905, Russia, we also pointed out this to say she was defeated by Japan. Therefore, after failing to establish a route there, she wanted to establish a western route by having access to the Mediterranean Sea. So for Russia to have access to the Mediterranean Sea, she had to pass through the Balkans region. Therefore, she was interested in those affairs. That's why she supported Serbia. So to have an ice-free passage for her ships into the Mediterranean Sea, we see Russia. Russia is on top, is to the north there. Now, most of the land there, it is ice. Therefore, the ships or the trade routes may not be established there. As a result, she wanted to have access in the to the Mediterranean Sea by having or passing through the Balkan region. So she wanted to pass through the Balkan region the Mediterranean Sea. So that's what she wanted, to avoid the ice region that was there. So that's why we're saying to have an ice-free passage for her ships into the Mediterranean Sea. So number one, we have said that she wanted to open trade routes to the Mediterranean Sea, and number two, to have that ice-free passage to the Mediterranean Sea as well. And also to support the independence of ethnic groups. So Russia was interested again in the Balkans so that she support the independence of ethnic groups, to say, right, the Slavs, they want to be independent, let them be. So she wanted to support them. So with Russia's support, several nations got united to form the Balkans League. So because Russia supported the independence of those ethnic groups, therefore, in the Balkans area, therefore, those small states, they formed the Balkans League, what they called the Balkans League. So the Balkans, or the countries that formed the Balkans League, were Serbia, Greece, Montenegro, and Bulgaria. They formed the Balkans League. So the league was led by Venizelos, who was the Prime Minister of Greece. The Prime Minister of Greece was the leader of the Balkans League. But why did they form the Balkans League in 1912? Why did they form that one? Number one was to foster nationalism, to fight for their independence. They wanted at least to be purely independent from the Turkish rule. And also to promote Pan-Slavism, all Slav people to come together and form their country, that is in the Balkans. And also to counter the influence of the Young Turks. There was also the Young Turks we are going to talk about. So there was they wanted to counter that influence of those Young Turks. As you can see, Turks from Turkey. So Young Turks, they formed their league. Again, we are going to talk about. So the Balkans League was formed to counter the activities of the Young Turks. And also to drive Turkey out of Europe. So they wanted to do away, the Balkan countries, they wanted to do away with Turkey, so that Turkey should not be called a country in Europe, should be in Asia. Now there was this one, the Turkish movement of 1908. Remember, the Balkans League was formed in 1912, and there then we have mentioned the Young Turks the Young Turks. So here we are seeing the Turkish movement, which was formed in 1908. What was it? It was also known as the Bosnian crisis. So in other words, this movement was known as the Bosnian crisis. So it was the first crisis in the Balkans. So this crisis, or the Turkish movement, was the first crisis in the Balkan region. So the Young Turks, those who have mentioned, they wanted to end the repressive rule of Sultan Abdul Hamid. Sultan Abdul Hamid II was the ruler of Turkey. So they were led by Pasha Enver Bey, who was the leader of the Young Turks. He was the leader. So the Young Turks movement deposed Sultan, that is Sultan Abdul Hamid II, was deposed in 1908. He was removed from his position as the leader. So Austria-Hungary took advantage of this revolution to annex Bosnia-Herzegovina. So that's where you have to understand it very well there. To say, we have said that Austria-Hungary was also interested in the affairs of the Balkans. Now, when Austria-Hungary, when Serbia was fighting for independence, Pan-Slavism, Austria-Hungary blocked that one. But now in 1908, when the situation got out of hand even in the Turkish Empire, such that within Turkey, the young people, they formed their movement to remove their ruler, it was therefore a no return there, to say maybe things are really falling apart for Turkey. Therefore, Turkey is breaking up. But on the other hand, we have said that Austria-Hungary wanted to avoid the breakup of the Turkish Empire. But here, the situation is no reverse. Turkey is breaking up because of what is happening there. Therefore, quickly, when there was that movement, the Bosnian crisis in Turkey, then Austria-Hungary took that advantage and got Bosnia-Herzegovina by force. Remember, this same Bosnia-Herzegovina, it was one of the countries that that Serbia wanted so much to be part of the Pan-Slavism. So in 1908, then Austria-Hungary took this Bosnia-Herzegovina by force. So Serbia was also interested in this area because it had 3 million Serbs, just as we have already pointed out. To say Bosnia-Herzegovina was another bigger interest for Serbia. So that annexation of that taking by force by Austria-Hungary, it was a big shock to Serbia. It was a big shock to Serbia. Then Serbia called for Russian help to say, Russia, see, my interest was on Bosnia-Herzegovina, but look at what Austria-Hungary has done. So she called for Russian help. So Russia called for an international conference with the hope of France and Britain backing. So Russia immediately called for an international conference to say, let's meet. What is happening in the Balkans there is not good at all. Countries are just taking dominating other countries just by force. So both Britain and France just condemned the act by Austria-Hungary. So what happened was that France and Britain, they said, that is not there is no interest, we have no interest in the same. So, but what Austria-Hungary has done is not good. So we condemn what Austria-Hungary has done. So that conference did not take place. So the meeting did not take place and Russia did not help Serbia. So you can see to it that there was a big frustration there for Serbia. Serbia then was greatly frustrated with the action of Austria-Hungary. Now, what were the results? What were the results of the Bosnian crisis or the Balkan nationalism in the Balkans? So diplomatic victory of Germany and Austria-Hungary. So we see to it when Austria-Hungary annexed Bosnia-Herzegovina, nothing took place. Therefore, it meant that Germany and Austria-Hungary, they were victors because their interests were just flourishing there. And Serbia became bitter and hostile towards Austria-Hungary. So with that then, after Austria-Hungary was now celebrating to say, yes, we have taken that country which Serbia also wanted, then Serbia became very bitter and hostile towards Austria-Hungary. So Russia embarked on a massive military build-up. So because Russia did not take action on the same, she knew that Germany was behind Austria-Hungary. Therefore, to take action would provoke Germany. So with that then, she started embarking on massive build-up of the military. So the revolution encouraged further breakup of the Turkish Empire. So we see to it that in Turkey itself, the Turkish Empire became completely crumbled because of those revolutions by the Young Turks movement. Then there was the Balkans War, the two wars, the first and the second. Let's start with the second or the first Balkan War, the first Balkan War. Mind you, we are looking at the cause number 2 of the First World War, and this one is nationalism in the Balkans. And here we're analyzing issues that were taking place in the Balkans. So we have looked at a number of issues. Now we are at the Balkan War of 1912. So Italy defeated Turkey over Tripoli in North Africa. So what happened was that in 1912, Italy defeated Turkey over Tripoli in Tunisia, that is North Africa. So this encouraged the Balkan League to attack Turkey and share its territories. So when Italy defeated Turkey in 1912, then that one encouraged the Balkans League. Remember the Balkans League? Serbia, Montenegro, Greece, and many of those countries. So they ganged up and quickly also attacked Turkey so that they defeat Turkey and share all the territories that were under Turkey. So the Young Turks were defeated within 3 weeks, and the Balkans League took most of the Turkish empire or territories in Europe. So their wish was fulfilled. Then Turkey was reduced to Eastern Thrace and Constantinople. So Turkey then was reduced into a small country that basically dominated Eastern Thrace and Constantinople. Then sharing of the Turkish territories among the Balkans League caused the Second Balkans War. You know, whenever people are sharing the spoils, usually not everyone is happy. So with that then, we see to it that it happened again in 1912 that when they were sharing the spoils, the territories, after defeating Turkey, then those countries, now the other countries were not happy. That is the Balkan countries. Then that one caused the Second Balkan War, the Second Balkan War. So what was this Second Balkan War? That was fought in 1913. So let us look at it. The Second Balkan War. Bulgaria wanted Macedonia but was denied. During the sharing, everyone had her own interest, but during the sharing, some were refused. You not take this, you not take this, goes to this one, then other countries were not satisfied. Then she attacked her fellow league members in June 1913. So Bulgaria, when she was denied to get Macedonia, then she attacked other members of the Balkan League in June 1913. So the combined effort of other league members easily defeated Bulgaria. So Bulgaria was easily defeated because she was alone, a small state, and is the other small states united, they easily defeated Bulgaria. So this crisis was settled at the Treaty of Bucharest. So the Treaty of Bucharest, the Agreement of Bucharest, the Romanian capital in August 1913. So there was a treaty, a conference at Bucharest, which is the Romanian capital, a country called Romania, and its capital Bucharest. That's where there was that meeting or that conference in order to settle that crisis of the Second Balkan War. Now, let us look at the consequences of the Balkan Wars. What were the consequences? Serbia became strong from her war gains and in the Balkans, and she started provoking Austria-Hungary. So after the Balkan Wars, Serbia gained some territories and became somehow strong, and she started provoking Austria-Hungary. Remember, she was already bitter after that taking of Bosnia-Herzegovina in 1908 by Austria-Hungary. Austria-Hungary grew concerned with Serbia, and she wanted to eliminate her through war, hence waited for an opportunity. So when Serbia started to provoke the situations, then Austria-Hungary was also concerned. Then Austria-Hungary, she wanted to eliminate, to remove Serbia through a war, and she was just waiting for a chance to say, should there be a chance to attack this Serbia, then anytime we are going to shell this out. The Germans miscalculated that the British assistance in the Balkan problems indicated that she could dump France. She could dump France and Russia. So the Germans also miscalculated to say, right, with whatever was happening in the Balkans, because of Russia being concerned with the Balkans, then Britain was going to dump their assistance or their relationship with France as well as Russia. But that one did not happen. Britain did not end that relationship, that alliance the Triple Entente did not end because of the issues of the Balkans. So Germany there, we see to it miscalculated because she was backing Austria-Hungary with an aim, maybe on the other hand, to make it to Britain to say, oh, see your allies, France and Russia, they are just the people who are just concerned for their personal gains. Therefore, Britain would abandon their Triple Entente. That one did not happen. Now, to this far, we have looked at the three causes of the First World War. And in this topic, or in this part, basically, we have looked at two: the arms race and militarism, and the nationalism in the Balkans. These two factors were the major issues that contributed or that caused the First World War. We have analyzed, we have looked at how the arms race went about, the war plans, how they were competing on the naval, on the making of war machineries, and the reasons why they were doing that, and how that contributed again to the outbreak of the First World War. And we have just looked at nationalism in the Balkans, how again, how the situation was there in the Balkans. We have seen to it that smaller countries, they wanted independence from Turkey, and there then other bigger countries, they started to have interest and they were acting behind those smaller countries. In such a way, those were the real conflict that just waited for a time bomb, that just waited for a time to spark, to say, all right, anytime, then anything could happen. So we have seen how situations in the Balkans also were really pointing to the outbreak of the First World War. So next time, we are going still to continue with part 3 of the same topic, So in this part, we are going to see the highlights of the First World War. The highlights of the First World War. Now from here now, we're going to see this part because there were three major causes. The three major causes. We have looked at the political alliances, we have looked at the arms race and militarism and nationalism in the Balkans. These three, they were the three major causes of the First World War. And from here now, we're going to see the spark. What sparked this First World War? Then from there, we're going to see the highlights. What happened? Where? And later on, we're also going to look at the results. What were the results of the First World War and the impact of the First World War? So that is another wonderful part that we are going to look at. So watch out for this part because it is already there, just waiting for you to request for it. Then anytime it is sent to you, and you have it at your own time, whether on the tablet, on your phone, on the screen, wherever you can watch, or you can just listen to the audio, but it's there. It's just waiting for you to learn. So learn at your own comfort, but remember to follow these things. So until next time, thank you so much.